Have you ever wanted a stable, powerful government to lead you into prosperity? Yes, that's exactly what I've been looking for. Look no further than the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is headed by one sultan, or ruler. Because the Ottoman Empire is Islamic, it is headed by a sultan, which in Arabic translates to power and authority. The sultan's duty is to guarantee justice. Who would want to live in a place where crime goes unpunished? Not me. To help the sultan, he has a vizier alongside other military officials. Military officials have a lot of political power in the Ottoman Empire. However, the vizier is slightly above them. But how will you guarantee my safety? What does the sultan do to guarantee my safety? I'm glad you asked. Although the sultan is technically the head of the empire, the vizier is the head of day-to-day operations of the empire. He will ensure your safety while you live or travel to the Ottoman Empire. What about trading? I want to sell my very valuable goods. You are in luck. The Ottoman Empire regulates multiple industries to make the economy run smoothly. They regulate the handicraft production and training, the standard weight and measurement system, and the entry of apprentice artisans into the trades. This makes sure that your goods can get to a larger audience so you can make much more money. But what truly makes our empire the best is our sultans over the years. Selim I, who came to power in 1512, doubled the size of the empire and became the most powerful Islamic ruler. Not only do we uphold the standard of Islamic success, we also add to it. Just talk to someone who lived during Selim I's reign. Selim I made me proud to be a Muslim in the Ottoman Empire.
Wow!
Suleiman the Lawgiver was also one of our greatest rulers. He created incredible political and cultural reforms. His law codes were so influential that they are still used in modern-day Turkey today.
Wow!
Suleiman's law codes really helped punish the man who hurt my family. Speaking of law codes, the Ottoman Empire has one of the best, most fair law codes out of all the empires in the entire world. If you decide to live in the Ottoman Empire, you will be governed by Sultanic law and Sharia law, which is Islamic law. And don't worry about the non-Muslims living in the empire because they also fall under our law codes. But all of this power that the Ottoman Empire has doesn't come with a little bit of turmoil. The Ottoman Empire clashed with the Safavid Empire in 1623. But the Ottoman Empire, being culturally and militarily supreme, defeated the Safavid Empire and gained even more territory and pulled even more people into our vast empire. We also like to protect our people at the Ottoman Empire. We do this by putting out clan disputes so that the least amount of people can get hurt. Overall, there is no reason not to like the Ottoman Empire. We have it all. We guarantee your safety while also making you proud to be a part of our empire. The Ottoman Empire, where power meets prosperity.
Now, let's talk about the geography and the location of the Ottoman Empire and why it's so important for the Ottoman Empire to be the greatest empire in the early modern period. I mean, don't you want a world where you can experience different cultures, best opportunities economically, socially, politically? Do you want to be in the center of the world where everything's happening? Then come to the Ottoman Empire, where greatness is an expectation. I mean, I can't imagine being a landlocked empire. That must be rough. You must have no way to grow your wealth. All you can do is farm and trade internally. What are you going to trade? Wool for what? There's no way that you're going to be able to grow if you're in a landlocked empire. It's just not appealing. I mean, the thing about the Ottoman Empire is that you have access to Europe and Asia. That's two large continents that produce two different products. I mean, with the Ottoman Empire having trade ports on the Mediterranean, you can trade with Italy and Britain, and you can experience European trade flourishing right in front of your eyes. Or you could use our Red Sea ports and go explore the vast Indian Ocean and explore the wealth that comes from it. The spices, the luxury goods, porcelain. I mean, what is it not to like about that? I mean, the Ottoman Empire is a bridge. It's a bridge between the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. I mean, who doesn't want to be able to trade with Asia and Europe at the same time? That's two for the price of one. That's amazing. That's not good. That's amazing. I mean, I just can't imagine living in Latin America only being able to trade internally. I mean, you could trade outside, but it takes months for that trade to get to that place. And the demand might not be as high because you have other parts of the world developing and that demand. I mean, the ideas and the opportunities that you could get with the 8 million square mile of territory that the Ottoman Empire holds, from North Africa to the Islamic heartland to Eastern Europe. That's so much opportunity and land for you to grow. I mean, last time I checked, there are no negatives when you could earn so much. I mean, the Ottoman Empire controls the trade routes from Asia to Europe and India to Europe, and vice versa. Like, don't you want to see what world trade is like? Don't you want to see what wealth looks like? Don't you want to see what you can become? Because I'm telling you, there's untapped potential here. I mean, not to mention that we control the Holy Land. You can visit shrines. You can visit the origin of your faith. Isn't that important as a person? You want to understand your faith. You want to be able to see where your faith comes from. I mean, with the location of the Ottoman Empire in the center of the world, present-day Turkey, which is partly in Europe and partly in Asia, that's like big. You're able to experience the Asian culture and the European culture, and also can't forget the North African and African culture, because we own part of that. You want to be able to get to know and fulfill your life with different cultures. You don't want to have a boring life knowing one thing. You want to be able to explore. You want to be able to see new ideas. A landlocked country, you get no ideas. And you get no freedom to explore the world and its ideas and its opportunities and what it holds. I mean, I'm not going to stress it enough. Location, location, location. And no one has a better location than the Ottoman Empire. We are literally sitting in the center of the world, controlling trade. We are the key to the world's success. So if you want to become part of the world's success, and you are trying to find greatness, come to the Ottoman Empire, because greatness is waiting for you.
What's an empire worth without a great military? There's plenty of empires out there, like the Safavid Empire, that have weak armies with less than 40,000 soldiers. But if you want a real military, you look to the Ottoman Empire, with a military over 200,000 strong. Having numbers like that sure does give some the advantage. But you know what else does? Gunpowder. Of course, the Ottoman Empire is one of the first empires to adopt gunpowder weaponry, and they used it to revolutionize artillery. No one could withstand the Ottomans for long during a conquest. For example, have you ever heard of Constantinople? Probably not, thanks to the Ottomans. It was the capital of the Byzantine Empire before the Ottomans decided to conquer it, and then they changed the name to Istanbul. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. The Ottomans used their land and sea dominance to conquer the city with their impressive naval ships. We've already told you about how innovative the Ottomans were, and they certainly used this skill in their military. A major factor in the conquering of Constantinople was their new technology, like the Basilica cannon, which was a massive cannon that could fire well over a mile. Building walls around your city doesn't matter when your enemy has artillery. That fancy technology wouldn't do them any good if they didn't have well-trained soldiers to use it. Of course, the Ottoman Empire came with the most well-trained and disciplined soldiers. None better than the Yassiri, who are an elite part of the military and society who doubled as the Sultan's guards. Talk about versatility. The Yassiris were so influential in the Ottoman Empire, they were even able to overthrow the Sultan Ibrahim, proving that the only thing that could stop the Ottomans were the Ottomans. The rest of the military wasn't to be taken lightly. with the Safari cavalry being crucial in many victories for the Ottomans. An empire doesn't last over 600 years without the strongest military around. So if you want an empire that can not only protect its own lands, but also conquer any other, look no further than the Ottoman Empire. In the Ottoman Empire's early days, their army was made up of a nomadic cavalry force. In order to run a successful military, structure is key, and that is why during military campaigns, soldiers weren't allowed to consume alcohol, had strict rations, and kept sanitation measures, unlike the rest of Europe. Orm I organized an army paid by a set salary because the happier army is, the better. Of course, with the more land the Ottomans conquered, the more soldiers they would need. So they thought, why not enlist the conquered Christians? This was a pretty good strategy. In fact, most of the Assyri were former Christian youths.
The Ottoman Empire, where greatness is an expectation.
I'm so bored here in Latin America. I wish I could go somewhere and debate. This is so much better. An empire cannot be truly great without a social scene. The Ottoman Empire coffee houses were the place to be for scholars and poets. There was reading, gathering, debating, and of course, coffee. Inside the coffee house, there was a meta, or storyteller, that would perform one-person shows. Usually they were traveling. If the cafe is closed, you can always go for a walk through the beautiful Hagia Sophia, the church-turned-mosque. With marble piers supporting the grand dome and mosaics surrounding the inside of the building, you won't be able to take your eyes off of it. Although inspired by Christian art, when it comes to architecture, the Ottoman Empire created works that were worthy of not only Islamic culture, but also worthy enough to be included in European artistic traditions. If you are wondering whether or not water is supplied in the great city of Istanbul, don't fret. The Aqueduct of Valens was constructed for that very purpose. The Ottomans put a lot of effort into their mansions, rest homes, religious schools, hospitals, and public and private gardens to ensure that the quality of life for the people was above and beyond. In terms of acceptance of different religions, the Ottomans, unlike Portugal and Spain, considered Jews and Christians dhimmi, or people of the book. They were allowed to practice their religion without fear of being expelled. In fact, they were guaranteed their personal safety and security of property. The Ottoman Empire was a large, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious empire. It also did not matter if a person was born enslaved or freed, they had the same chance to rise up to a position of power. When it came to the military, the Ottomans were in the lead. There was actually a group of men called the Janissaries who were drafted in their youth, later becoming the first modern standing army in Europe. They were an elite group known for their archery skills, and they were vital to the expansion of the military. Such a clever idea from the Ottoman Sultan. Speaking of clever, the Ottomans had tons of creative art. Things like calligraphy, pottery, and weaving all had unique takes. Those who practiced the same craft or art were grouped together in guilds, setting craft standards and playing a large role in the economy. The city of Iznik was renowned for ceramics, Bursa for silks and textiles, Cairo for the production of carpets, and Baghdad for the arts of the book. The empire was dominated by the Turks, but also included Arabs, Kurds, Greeks, Armenians, and other ethnic minorities, proving itself to be a melting pot of cultures. The people of the empire were loyal to the Sultan and constantly motivated, making it easier for the empire to expand. All in all, the Ottoman Empire is full of diverse cultures and people. Everywhere you turn is a new, beautiful piece of art.
Thank you, Olivia, for that fascinating account of the Ottomans' rich social and artistic history. Next, I've got to remind you that the Ottomans weren't just on top of their military game. They also pioneered various advancements in technology and academic fields. If you come down with an infectious disease like cholera, or are maimed by an enemy soldier, where do you go? That's right, the hospital. If it weren't for the Ottomans, who knows how long it would have been for the development of hospitals and healthcare. They even invented forceps, scalpels, catheters, surgical tools still used for this day. Wow, and I know that everyone loves math. So next time you hit the books, be sure to thank the Ottoman scholars who wrote some of the first textbooks in mathematics and translated important ones from other countries. And there's more. The Ottomans are credited with essential advancements in mining, astronomy, and even mechanical engineering. In terms of writing and language, the Ottomans used their greatest asset, multiculturalism, to aid them in the crafting of their new language. What is now known as Ottoman Turkish was highly influenced by Arabic and Persian vocabulary. This official language of the empire united people of many different origins who spoke it as their second language. Do you want to experience the benefits of Turkish, Arab, and Greek life? Well, the Ottoman Empire is the place for you. The empire also absorbed elements of other cultures, traditions, arts, and institutions, and their 2,007,731 square miles of power and prosperity, forming a new, distinctive society. And what about the economy of the Ottoman Empire? I know that nobody wants to be a victim of poverty and a struggling economy. And you're in luck. The vast strength of the Ottoman Empire is only matched by its flourishing economy. Control of the world's most lucrative trade route means huge wealth. Geographically, the empire served as a bridge between the East and West, allowing it to be very active in the shipping industry. In fact, the empire's main economic activities was the export of its own products, including silk, furs, tobacco, and even spices. And don't worry, if you want to work in this industry, others in your profession will have your back. Beginning in the 15th century, guilds were created for standardization, regulation, and above all, mutual interest for people of the same profession. The agrarian side of the economy also thrived. Farmers and ranchers allowed the empire to be self-sufficient in food. Raw materials found in the empire were ample enough to even spur the manufacturing of clothing, utensils, and many other goods.
After all of that, how could you not want to be a part of the Ottoman Empire? The Ottoman Empire, where power meets prosperity.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the church.